Hello, I'm Cliff and I'm in my shed and you are very welcome to join me. So, it's back to the Emco. It comes time to try and put it back together again. I'm still working on the stand, I've still got a lot of stripping and I'm waiting for some paint to arrive for that. But it's time to start putting the actual lathe back together. Everything now is pretty much done, except for what I'm going to be doing now, which is putting the spindle back in and putting the new bearings in. And I must say, it's not without a little trepidation that I'm going to take this task on. First of all, I'm going to strip all the masking tape off from when I sprayed the lathe, and then we'll have a look at the bits and what the process for putting the spindle back in and putting the new bearings in. Right, so these are the bits that are involved with putting the spindle and the spindle bearings back in. We've got the spindle, we've got the two speed control wheels, cogs, whatever you want to call them. We've got the bearing caps, front and back. We've got a couple of spacers. We've got the drive cog, and we've got this C whip, and we've got this C spanner nut which pushes all these together on the spindle. So basically the way this goes back together is the bearing cover will go on, this is the front bearing, and the front one is a 32007. So the shell, what I would call the shell, or the outer part of the bearing, goes into the headstock. This I've got to press onto here. Once that's pressed in, this can go through the headstock into the shell. This goes on there. This goes on. This bit comes through the back of the headstock. Then the bearing for the back of the headstock goes on, and the only way I'm going to be able to get that on is to actually tighten it on with this, but we'll see how that goes when we get there. Put that back in the bag for now. So my first job is going to be to get the shell into the hole in the headstock. So the first job is going to be to press this shell, or the outer part, into the housing in the headstock. This here. That's got to be pressed into there and go right up against this stop. So to do that, I'm going to use the old bearing shell. I've got a big G clamp. And a couple of bits of MDF. So the plan is I'm going to go and get some ice from down the house. I'm going to put the bearing shell in some ice just to cool it down a bit. I should put it in that bag and put it in the ice. I'm going to use this air dryer to warm up the headstock. And then try and press it in with a G-clamp. And then once it's gone in flush, I can use the G-clamp and the old bearing to push it right home, because it goes in beyond the face of the headstock. The reason I'm using a hairdryer is because I don't want to get the headstock really hot, but I do want to warm it up warmer than the shell anyway. So I shall pop down, get some ice and give it a go. So I've got the shell, the outer bit of the bearing, in this little tub here with some ice in a little plastic bag. Excuse me. And now I'm cleaning this out for the final time. Just hope there's no crap or anything in there that's going to hinder the operation. Don't matter how many times I do this, the tissue still gets a little bit dirty. Right, just going to stick the hairdryer at that and turn it on. Right, I'll give that a minute. I've double-sided taped the bit of MDF on this side. I hope it don't get warm and fall off, but that's just to stop me faffing about when I come to try and press this in. It is this bit of the operation that gives me some cause for trepidation, because if this shell or something is slightly too big, even if this expands a little bit, that contracts, it will go in, and it could always crack the headstock, which of course would be a disaster and pretty much shit. That's all. The end of the lathe. Right. I don't think I need to go any much further with that. So, round one, let's give it a go. Well, it's cold. Make sure I put it in the right way round, eh? Right, here we go then. Don't look like the MDF is up to this. Bugger. Right, MDF ain't up to it. I'll get a shot of that. Need to find something a bit more substantial pretty quick. That's why I tape the MDF to that. Stop this sort of faffing about. do with another pair of hands here. Which of course I ain't got. Right, this ain't going very well at all. I was hoping, I think I've just took too long to do this. So that's got to go in mild yet. I'm wondering whether to tap it back out and try again. Because I think while it was cold and this was warm, but now it's all, I just took too long to do it. I'm going to try it again. So when I took the MDF and that off, I see this looks like it's gone in just a little bit skew width. So I'm going to have another go, but just try and push this in with the other bearing. Might straighten it up a little bit. As you can see, I'm having trouble getting everything together here, and I'm sweating. Should have gone and got a bigger bit of metal that stood up here, shouldn't I? That's probably going to be too big. Let's try that. Now there we go. So that was a little bit wonky, and that's what was stopping it going in. Right, now I've got to find the other bearing and try and push that in all the way home. I can see where it's got to get to from there. So now I need to undo this. Get this dead on there. Of course, as the law of sod dictates, my battery ran out, but I did manage to push the bearing in up to the seat that you can see from the inside of the headstock. Now all I've got to do is get a screwdriver and hopefully tap the other bearing out of the hole. There you go. Not without injuring myself, of course. Okay, and that's the first bit of it done. Doesn't seem to have done any damage. So, next thing I've got to do is get the other arc of the bearing on the actual spindle. Now this is going to be even trickier. I'm going to use the same sort of tactic, warm this up, try and put the ice around here. And I've got a bit of tube that's just about the right diameter to go over that, and I'm just going to have to tap this on, I think. I don't think there's any other way I'm going to be able to get this one on, and just hopefully I can do it. I just hope it wasn't as tight as that one. So first thing I've got to do is wrap that in something, that ice, and get it onto here. Try and cool this down a bit. Warm the bearing up and try and bang it on. So I've transferred the ice into a plastic bag which I've wrapped around the spindle. I'm going to try and do it first with a clamp and see if I can squash it on rather than batch it. So now I'm just going to warm up the bearing. The bearing is on, thank God. So now I've got to repeat the process with the other side and get the shell in anyway. Stick that back in his bag and stick it in with the ice. Right, again, I'm going to have to try and tap this one out. Right, so now I've got to put this through. I'll get rid of this first, shall I? And now this goes through like that. This one goes on. Alright, now there is something I will show you quick. On both of these bearing retainers, got this little oil hole, and that actually is in the headstock as well at the bottom. So these oil holes, when you do put these covers back in place, I'm not sure if the holes are lined up in one particular way anyway, but they've got to line up because that throws oil up into the bearing, I think. Don't forget to do that. Right, so this bearing is going to go on next. Now, I've got no idea if I'm going to be able to get enough on these. Because this don't even want to start on there. I nearly forgot this spacer goes on here first. And then the bearing goes on. So I'm going to get me big bit of metal and clamp it up and see if I can just tap this one on. I'm pretty much hold spindle in place with that. And then I should be able to tap this on. Sounded like it was on. Don't think it's quite there yet. Sounds like it's there. Move these up and see. Don't think this is on far enough. No, it's not quite right. That does go underneath the, I'm assuming this keyway. No, that goes over the keyway, it's alright. got a C spanner that nearly fits this. Better to use this than what's the name? It only just fits it. Would have helped if I put that on first, wouldn't it? God, I'm a knob. So, I mean, this is how you get the preload on the bearings. I mean, I don't feel like there's any end shape there to me at all. Certainly feels like it's spinning better than it was. Well, I think that's about it. And that is that. Done the screws up in the bearing caps. Done the little grub screw up in the adjusting nut, I suppose you'd call that. There's no perceptible end play at all that I can feel. Might be wishful thinking, but I'm quite sure they're spinning better than it was before I started. So that's it. This is quite a long old video, I know. But the next thing I'm going to do is put the other bit of the headstock in, the gears that adjust the speed for the direct drive. But I'm really pleased that that's all back in and the new bearings are in. Well, that'll be it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm getting quite near me 10,000 subscribers, which is a bit of a milestone. I only need 100 and odd, I think. So, if you've got this far and you haven't already, I'd really appreciate a subscription. And a comment if you've got the time. But that's it for this one. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.